I don't know what season of life you're in, but we're raising 4 teenagers who all drive now. Just the other night, we had one of those rare nights where everybody was home, where every seat around the table was filled, and we had the most natural conversation that involved laughter and joy, but also confession of struggle. And I remember specifically as a dad taking a snapshot in my mind because I know how special and rare it is to have the family together. That's the way the church is supposed to feel. When your small group meets and everybody's there, there's supposed to be a sense of just joy that everybody's here. Like, even if we don't do anything but just sit in a room together and swap stories, this is worth it. Because doing life with other people is what life is all about. Jesus said in the Great Commandment, we're supposed to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourselves. So there's this vertical and horizontal component to our heart, and you can't have one without the other. And group life is really where it's at. I love preaching. I am a trained preacher. I have my doctorate in preaching. That sounded pretentious even saying it out loud. But I know that there's a limit to what preaching can do. It can impact the heart. It can transform people and motivate people. And surely people come to faith in hearing the word preached. But there is a joy of Christianity that happens around a table that you just can't replace. And a Christianity that has consumption of sermon without joy around the table is a pretty shallow agreement. I think we're seeing an epidemic of loneliness in America, but also in the church. And a lot of it's our own fault. When I was in college, I needed a knee surgery and it had to happen while I was at school. And I told my family, like, I'm gonna take care of this. Nobody needs to come. It's an in and out deal. I'll be in the hospital one night. And it just so happened to be the same night that a big dance was happening on campus. So all my friends were out having fun. And I remember coming out of surgery and sitting in that hospital room and feeling an overpowering sense that I was completely alone, and the fear that comes with that. And it was by my own choosing. The local church that God has designed is for us to experience this power of intimacy and connectedness and strength. We are not strong when we walk alone. We know that. We were not intended to walk through life alone. And the local church, with all of its challenges and all of its awkwardness, is still the place where people can find the closest connections. What I love about Mark chapter 2 and this story about Jesus healing the paralytic is that he never gets to Jesus. He never experiences healing if it weren't for 4 people who decided they were going to care for him and they were going to walk through life with him even when he couldn't walk on his own. I wonder, as I read that passage, have I opened up myself to the place that others would be willing to do that for me? That I've given enough of my heart to them that they would want to give their hearts to me? And it's always a risk in being vulnerable. So as we study these passages, I think we're all challenged to take a look at our relationships and consider how healthy are they? And am I really living out the New Testament version of what community looks like? In 2013, our family felt the call to plant a church in Denver, Colorado. We moved to a new city. We moved to a city that was largely secular. We moved onto a street with people who were already saying, these Christian people are going to kill all the fun on the street. It was a hostile environment. As we tried to start the church, a woman on our street actually went to the principal and demanded that our little flock of people not be allowed to meet in her kids' school. And yet in this weird way, all of that persecution and difficulty and hardship drew this small group of people together closer than any family connection that I have ever felt. We were in it together, we were on mission together, and we had each other's backs. Church is supposed to feel like that. The local church is supposed to be a place where you feel like people here have my back. People here will protect me and care for me. They will meet the needs that I have, or seek to meet them anyway. This is a place where I feel safe and encouraged. And I wonder, as we look at this story today in Mark chapter 2, this session about the most sensational small group of all time, it's hard to find a story in the Bible that provokes more imagination than this one. What was going on in the mind of these 4 men when they decided to carry their friend to Jesus? Imagine the conversations that must have been had. Number one, how broken they were for his condition. What an enormous sacrifice it was of energy and effort and time to just physically get him to where he needed to be. There clearly was a beautiful relationship that preexisted, that had been built over years of time. I doubt very seriously that this was a random encounter, but someone that they really cared about. But then also, imagine what the conversation was like regarding faith. These 4 people believed that Jesus had power, or they would not have taken their friend there. There are moments in life when your faith is completely depleted, when the circumstances around you have caused you to become cynical, question whether God's really there, or whether you're not walking through life alone. It's in those moments, and you will have those moments, when you have to trust that the people around you have faith to carry you through. This is one of the greatest benefits of being in community, is the recognition that I am going to go through some valleys in life, but I'm going to be leaning on people who can pull me up out of it. And this story illustrates beautifully the need that we all have to recognize our fragility and our need for others to pull us up in a difficult time. I once heard it said that the predominant question in any room when a sermon is being preached is, if I get cancer, who's going to bring me casseroles? And the number of people who come every Sunday to church and consume a sermon, maybe have small talk and pleasantries in the lobby, but never get to the level of real life-to-life connection, seems to be legion. And that's what I'm after today. What would it look like for a local church to be made up of circles like this one in Mark chapter 2? And what is the cost of it? What would it take for your group to go beyond discussing theological things to discussing theological things along with life's hurts and hang-ups and struggles? I have a friend who is an alcoholic, and he started to attend Alcoholics Anonymous. And as he showed up to this group as a person who had gone to church his whole life, he said that he had never felt so connected to another group of people than he did in that group, because people were completely raw about their need for help. What would it take for your group to get to the level where the fellowship is that sweet, where you would feel the freedom to walk into a room and discuss some of the unique challenges you're facing at home or at work or in marriage or in parenting, whatever the challenges you face? If you walk into a room every week and discuss a Bible study, but those things never come out, then the connectedness that the New Testament speaks about never really happens in the group. In most churches, when you walk in the door, there is an army of people that has something to hand you, and they're very extroverted people, they're very friendly. And the reality is you probably receive that bulletin or exchange hello with that person week after week without ever getting to know one more thing about them. So we know that the friendliness of the front door is important, but it's not what keeps people in the church. What keeps people in the church is that they have a growing relationship with a small group of people. And so as you read Mark chapter 2 today, I want you to notice 3 things. First of all, I want you to notice the faith of the people who bring their friend. I want you to notice the compassion that Jesus has for the broken. And then finally, I want you to notice the power of community. That as they bring their broken friend to Jesus, all of them experience a deeper sense of community. And so take this time today and really consider where you are in the community and what it would take for you to go deeper in that sense of family. I don't know how often your group gets together outside of the Sunday morning experience or wherever your small group experience takes place, but the relationships that are formed in fellowship off the field, they really are the thing that make church the most special. So when you're reading Mark chapter 2 today, I want you to imagine all of these stories that were part of the background that led to this moment, that these 4 men care so deeply for their friend that they're willing to carry him to Jesus. This was not out of context. They had built a life together. They had built relationships together. They had shared meals together. And because they had that relationship, they all got to experience the presence of the power of God in a way they never would have alone. So consider these things as you look at your own group and wonder, what would it take for us to reach this level of intimacy? I think we would all recognize that friendliness and friendship are both important, but very different things. When you walk into a church, you can tell if it's a friendly church in the first 5 minutes. If people are warm, if they smile, if they take an interest in your presence. I've been to churches where I walked directly to a seat, not a person spoke a word to me, and it feels really uncomfortable and cold. Nobody wants their church to be that. However, just because you're a friendly church doesn't mean people are experiencing friendship. Friendship requires intentionality, and it requires commitment that's much greater than that. So as we talk about the study today, the difference between friendliness and friendship matters, because for us to experience community in the church, we have to go deeper with people beyond the exchange of pleasantries. And that's really where we get to today.